Hello everyone. This is the announcement for the tag, Goth Lit November. It's a project that my friend Bailey and I have been collaborating on for quite some time. So if you haven't already, go check her out at the Bailey Grind and her corresponding video for this challenge. It's superb. So if it weren't for Bailey's suggestion, I wouldn't even be here filming this tonight. Bailey also, by the way, has some wonderful resources for you all. And I totally agree with her recommendation of Valancourt Books. It's a shop where you can find long out of print Gothic titles made available again. So I'll try to remember to link that below. So I don't know about you, but November is not a month that I look forward to much at all. So why don't we brighten up some of that bleakness with some great literature? Gothic style. I'm channeling Lord Byron, by the way, you know, the original goth. So what's characteristic of a Gothic novel? Ghosts, madness, mystery, and terror of the unknown, to name a few. Again, please check out Bailey's video where she covers more important aspects of Gothic literature. As a genre, it has roots in the late 18th century. So let's try to get right into it. Here's a few categories of Gothic literature that Bailey and I came up with. Classics, Victorian Gothic, Southern Gothic, and contemporary. I think I got them all. By the way, if you'd like to participate in the tag, all you have to do is choose a book from each category and a movie to watch. However, you don't have to pick up a book from each category. Even if you read just one, we'd love to hear about it. Just have fun. So now I'll offer you some examples from the list of books that we compiled. Starting with The Castle of Ontranto. I know Bailey talked about this, but it's hard not to mention as it's known as the first of its kind of the Gothic genre. It was published in 1764. And the other reason I wanted to mention it is because I just love this title. I just love this cover. And it includes a classic introduction by Sir Walter Scott, which is pretty cool. So I'll try to read a little bit of the back. All the familiar components of the Gothic novel, the ominous darkness and the howling winds, the dire portents and the ineluctable prophecy, originate in this tale of unnatural passions and an unacknowledgeable guilt. The clap of thunder, the creaking door, and the clank of more than mortal armor reverberate in these pages as contrapuntal accents to the portrait that steps out of its frame, the statue that bleeds, the skeleton in a hermit's cowl that prays. Now I have Julia and the Illuminated Baron. This had poor reviews on Goodreads, but that never stopped me. And I think there were only like 10 reviews of it, so, you know, who knows. It was hard not to include it because this was published in 1800, and it's credited as being the first Gothic novel written by a woman from the United States. So let's see what the book says. Originally published in 1800, this romantic tale of intrigue tells the story of a young woman of unknown origin and impeccable virtue. In her search for self-identity, Julia undergoes a series of dangerous encounters, including imprisonment in a gloomy castle at the hands of the Baron, a member of the secret society known as the Illuminati. Set against the backdrop of the French Revolution, the novel tells a story of love and order triumphing over the forces of hate and chaos. So it could be good. Ann Radcliffe, The Mysteries of Udolpho. This is 1794. Let's see. Her present life appeared like the dream of a distempered imagination, or like one of those frightful fictions in which the wild genius of the poet sometimes delighted. Reflection brought only regret, and anticipation terror. I think that's taken from the novel. Such is the state of mind of Ann Radcliffe's orphaned heroine, Emily St. Aubert, who finds herself imprisoned in her evil guardian, Count Montenoy's gloomy medieval fortress. Terror is the order of the day inside the walls of Udolpho, as Emily struggles against Montenoy's rapacious schemes and the threat of her own psychological disintegration. Wuthering Heights. So I'm going to read this really brief synopsis of the plot. Just the plot. We're not going to talk about how beautifully this is written. The story of Heathcliff, an orphan who falls in love with a girl above his class, loses her, and devotes the rest of his life to wreaking revenge on her family. All right. I mean, Kathy, Heathcliff, the Moors, people hate on it, but I will defend this book to the death. It's one of the greatest of all times. A masterpiece. John Pollidori, The Vampyre. It's considered the first vampire novel. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that summer in Geneva in 1816. But if you're not, Lord Byron, along with his personal physician and friend, John Pollidori, were residing in a villa in Geneva in the summer of 1816. Byron was entertaining his guest, Percy Shelley, and his fiancée, Mary. After a night of reading ghost stories, Byron suggested that everybody write their own story, a story more horrifying than anything that they'd ever heard. So, Mary's Frankenstein was born from this challenge. Pollidori's short novel, The Vampyre, was taken from Byron's story that he told that night. Speaking of that, you can always read some Byron, He's what inspired it all. Edgar Allan Poe. Just anything by Edgar Allan Poe, basically. These are the complete stories. I also have his complete poetry, but in truth, I haven't really delved much into it. Because when I was in school, he was just so popular that, this is a little skull. My daughter brought this in here. She's so cute. She helped me decorate. Anyway, I'm sorry. I was kind of late to Edgar Allan Poe. There was some stuff that I read in school, but he was so popular, and I kind of shunned a lot of stuff unless it was like European, because we didn't cover that in school. Anyway, all right, moving on. The Turn of the Screw. All right. A young, inexperienced governess is charged with the care of Miles and Flora, two small children abandoned by their uncle at his grand country house. She sees the figure of an unknown man on the tower and his face at the window. It is Peter Quint, and he has come for little Miles, but Peter Quint is dead. So this one, I will say, I did read. This really actually scared me. It's so good. It's another one of those sort of like Wuthering Heights. It's a little controversial. I think maybe the film version is more controversial than this, but this is fantastic. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is my classic hardcover copy from the 1930s. I think it's beautiful. Let me read the back of this though. Last night I dreamt I went to Manderley again. With these words, the reader is ushered into an isolated gray stone mansion on the windswept Cornish coast, as the second Mrs. Maxim de Winter recalls the chilling events that transpired as she began her new life as the young bride of a husband she barely knew. For in every corner of every room were phantoms of a time dead but not forgotten. A past devotedly preserved by the sinister housekeeper, Mrs. Danvers. The Witch and the Priest by Hilda Lewis. This was one that I found on Valancourt Books. So excited for this. I think Bailey might have talked about this in her video. I tried not to have too much overlap. Samuel Fleming, an aging priest, is tormented by doubts about the case of Joan Flower and her daughters Margaret and Philippa, whom he helped condemn to death as witches in 1618. Were they guilty? Was justice done? Did he do all he could to save their souls? I'm not going to read anymore, just because, I don't know if there's too many spoilers in this or what. Maybe I read too much with Rebecca. Okay, one more. Conjuring Wife. Now, this is why with categorizing Gothic literature, it can be a little tricky. I had this on the list because somebody had listed it as Gothic, but I actually don't know if it is. I haven't read this. I think this might be more horror. But if you want to read it, it's on the list and, it counts. But I'll just read the back. Half the human race practices witchcraft. All of them are women. Underneath the rational world of everyday life, there is a world that belongs solely to women, competing with each other, testing their charms and spells, destroying each other by invoking ancient powers. Norman Sailor refused to believe it was possible. It was too fantastic. He forced his wife to stop. ... And the nightmare began. I can't wait to read it. I heard that it's really good. I don't know. So, yeah, I will try and remember. No, I will do it. I will include the list that we compiled. And if there's, if you can think of anything else, I'm sure there's plenty of other things that you could choose. So here are some movie recommendations. Dracula, Bela Lugosi. Need I say anymore? I mean, Bela Lugosi, have you seen him? Rebecca, again, Rebecca, 1940, and it's an Alfred Hitchcock film. Need I say more? It's one of my all-time favorites, and a comfort film too. The Innocence, 1961, Deborah Kerr. Oh my God, she was such an actress. She was really great. Now, that is controversial, and I'm not going to say why, because I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I can see for some people why it might be triggering. It's an extremely elusive work, the novel and the film. The novel maybe more so than the film. So, it's all up to you, I guess, where you want to take it. But that's all I can say is it's a little controversial, but it is a fantastic film. Another one that was actually quite scary to me. So, yeah, there you have it. Those are they're not necessarily my book recommendations. I did what Bailey did. I just chose a few. Some of them I've read, some of them I haven't. Maybe some I will read for the challenge and maybe not. But the films were films I recommend because I really enjoyed. And also, we have a special guest with another film to recommend. So hold tight. Hello again, everyone. I'm Lord Byron, and this is Sweetie Todd. Hi, Sweetie Todd.
Hi, Lord Byron.
So, Sweetie has another movie recommendation for you.
So, the movie recommendation is Pit and the Pendulum. This movie can be a little gruesome because the torture room is involved. So, if you like to watch movies with young children, probably under 10, I'd say it might be best to wait till they're older, unless they're not bothered by that stuff at all. And even if you are bothered by torture or anything like death, then that might not be the best movie for you. But it is definitely a very well made, great acting, great costumes, the storylines. It's well thought out, I think, and I thought it was really cute. It's definitely not that lighthearted, but it's because it is the torture device that is used probably around more than 5 times, although they're mostly flashbacks. But yeah, it didn't bother me. I watched it when I was 10, almost 11, I think. That was 2 years ago now. But death has never really been a big thing for me. It doesn't bother me that much. Violent topics don't really get on my nerves, but especially if you're bothered by that, then I wouldn't watch it. Yeah, I've just been really cultured since I was little because of my mother with music, books, and movies. But anyway, it's a very well-made movie, like I said. The storyline, it takes place in probably the Middle Ages, 1300s or something like that. Maybe a little later. The movie was made in 1961, and it stars Vincent Price. In the movie, he plays the character Nicholas. He's the owner of this house, and his wife died, and in the torture room, I think. And his dead wife's brother comes to get debts repaid and stuff, anything like that. That's last minute transactions. And when he's there, it's kind of haunted, I guess, because Nicholas claims to hear his late wife's name, just her calling out his name, Nicholas in the movie. It's a shorter movie. It's only an hour and 20 minutes, I think. But it's definitely, like, spooky and Halloweeny and goth, like, goth lit November, like the theme is. But yeah, it's really nice. And another movies is Dracula. All the Dracula films, like the Christopher Lees, are some that I've watched. They're definitely more lighthearted versions of the Dracula and like comical. But then there's also the Bela Lugosi, which is a more like classic outlook, which is also really good. And the Christopher Lee ones are definitely more comical, especially the 1972 one. It's really funny. There's lots of jokes in it, but it's also Dracula, so it is a little spooky still. But definitely that's something to watch with the family or on your own if you like just watching your own movies with like a nice snack or something. And last movie, I'm not sure if this is on the list or not for the Gothlit November, but it's Edward Scissorhands. I looked on Google, and Google says it was Gothic, but I'm not sure, really. But it's a nice movie. Once again, it's spooky. I think it was 1990 it was made, and Edward Scissorhands, as you can probably tell by the title, the main character, Edward, has, like, scissors for hands, so it's just, like, slightly gruesome, but it's not really. And Vincent Price is also in that. But Vincent, he died in 1993, so that was one of his last films. And
you did your research.
He's in that in the beginning of the movie. It's an old man who, like, I guess Edward, like, lived with or something for a little before he ends up where he is in most of the story. But that's another good film.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, sweetie, for visiting us.
You're welcome. I will see you again soon with our wicked black cat. Hello, we're back here with our wicked black cat, Stormy. He's black, so I would consider him very gothic, as he's a all black kitty, very sweet. And as we're talking about movies and books, he loves when we read like dark poetry or any sort of dark story to him.
He does.
And he also, every year around this time, and actually over the summer, like whenever I don't have school, we watch spooky movies all year round, and he loves sitting on the couch with us. He just loves all these spooky things. And he's done some pretty silly things, so we think he might be possessed during these times. I mean, he eats apple cider donuts. And I think he started eating them when a spooky movie was playing. But
okay, I think he has things to do.
He's probably going to go and
cuddle with his bat, right?
Yeah. Once again, he loves bats. He's probably gonna go like bite it again. He loves biting his wings sometimes. I don't know. He gets very aggressive when we watch really spooky things with him. But he's still our sweet little black kitty.
Yes, he is. We love him very much.
Oh, he wants to go now, but say bye.
Bye. So again, if you want to participate, just choose one book from each category and a movie to watch, or just read just one book, or just start a book, and we'd love to hear about it. This is just supposed to be for fun. So I think that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.